Hello there and welcome to the video. I hope you're having a good day. Today we're going to build the Reben-Wolf in Gundam Breaker 4. The Reben-Wolf was originally developed from the Wolf. Naturally, we're going to be using those parts heavily in this build. It also reminds me of the Greys from Iron Blood Orphans. That is one of my favourite kits, so I'm going to combine it with that as well. So, get into the building. To start with, I used the Sazabi head. I think that has the best silhouette, and the cowling on the back looks really cool. It unfortunately doesn't have the piping on there, but I add that coloration later on to the faceplate. I then use the Grey's body, and I scale it up quite big to add to the chunkiness, and then I also lower it down slightly into the legs because the Reben-Wolf is quite stout and chunky. So for the arms and legs, I'm using the Reben-Wolf parts, sort of correct silhouettes and parts that we need there. Unfortunately, they don't have the shields on the arms, but I think we can make do. And for the legs, I did try something with the Grey's legs because I think they have the better shaping, but they don't have the right chunkiness or spacing. So I did end up sticking with the Wolf legs. So I do a little bit of scaling here, and I keep going backwards and forth with the head until I get what I'm happy with. And then I try and find a backpack that I want to work. Now, I did settle for the Sazabi backpack here. I'm not 100% happy with it, but it does give me the silhouette that I need. I then take some time looking through the weapons, and I settle on Gundam beam rifle, if I'm pronouncing that correctly. I think it's got the right kind of shape and size. And then for the melee weapon, the HG kit comes with a sword axe, so I just settled on the Nightingale's beam tomahawk, which looks pretty cool. I don't think this has a shield, so I just took it away. And then I'm moving on to the builder's parts now, and this is where I've got to be selective and kind of choose the components that I want to highlight. So to start with, I added these big thrusters to the chest. I think they're key to kind of getting across the look. And then I also knew that I wanted to add the pop of orangey yellow that those pipes have on the lower torso. So I added the pipes down there. The Grey's chest is one of my favourites in real life Gunpla and in Gundam Breaker 4, and in the game, using this HGUC blade antenna, I get to cover up those little glowy parts, and this just adds to make it more armored looking. It changes the shape of the chest a little bit. Then decided to try and make the legs look a little bit sharper by adding these knee armor pieces. I scaled them up and angled them a little bit. And then finally I decided to extend the crotch a little bit. Gotta be careful how I word this, but the original one is a bit too boxy and this is a bit bigger and has a few more angles, so that's what I intended here. We did use a missile launcher. It should be a thruster, but I think we can get the representation there. I then moved on to the painting, and to get the colours as accurate as I could, I copied the artwork into paint.net and then just used the sample colour, get the RGB values, and then I can use that in the in-game colour editor. So I add the primary green colour and then I just paint the whole kit in that green. And then I go through each individual component and start adding the colours. So on the face, I wanted that pop of orangey yellow, so I've added that in. I wish I could have added some builder's part pipes, but we ran out of pieces. So on the chest, there's quite a bit of colour separation going on, and I couldn't get that from the parts that I used, so I'm using that stripy pattern here to separate them out. But I also increased the normal intensity, which adds this kind of panel line effect, which just adds to the detail. Using patterns, as I've said in previous videos, is a really good way to get extra detail. So I knew I wanted to get a different colour on the arms. The pattern with the stripy pattern on the arms didn't line up on each arm. They were opposite, so it wouldn't have worked. So unfortunately I just had to settle for the dark green. I also tried to do some colour separation on the feet, but that proved a little bit difficult just because of the way this segment of colour was separated out across the legs. So I ended up using the hexagon pattern, and added just a stripe of dark green, which it might be very subtle, but it does add to the detail. I just gave the weapons a splodge of grey. Doesn't really matter too much. It's all grey in the artwork. And then I moved on to the builder's parts. I'm just kind of matching the colours as I go and just referencing the artwork. If you're ever trying to recreate something in any sort of game, having some references around, like on a second monitor or on a mobile phone, is always a good way to make sure you're recreating it somewhat faithfully. You can see some of the builder's parts allow us to add a bit of colour separation in different places. Like these knee armour parts have those little small little different colour separated areas, and I can do the same with the missile pods here. And that is the completed Reben-Wolf. I'll just show you quickly what it looks like with the camper backpack. Personally, I prefer it with the camper backpack. It does take it a bit further away from the original design, but this is Gundam Breaker 4. It's all about creating cool mechs and having fun. So let me know which backpack you prefer in the comments below. And as always, I hope you have a good rest of the day, and hopefully I'll see you in the next video.